report. So, Brian,
Yes,
you
sir.
ready to jump into this?
I'm ready.
Let's hit that first episode, that first segment of the vintage report. There we go. From August 1997, the month and the date and the year that the wrestling show came out. What was in the news? What was happening that same month? And you can see there on the far left, the tragedy in Paris. Princess Diana dies in the car crash. You were much older than I was in '97. What do you do you remember kind of what you were doing in this whole story when it went down?
My wife and I had just moved into our apartment the month before, so we were still like getting situated. And then our wedding was the next month, so we were kind of getting wedding stuff going on. But like this was all over the news, and it was so sad because she was such a good person, a good humanitarian. Um, it was like flooded the news for weeks, and it was just sad.
Yeah, I remember this vaguely. I was 10 in '97, so
Sure.
but I still remember kind of sitting there in Grandview in my house, and kind of this was the main story going on for quite a while.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
autumn. So that was this just happened, I believe. I didn't write the date down. I think it happened the last day of July, and then all throughout August, this filled newspapers, news stations, all that good stuff, and yeah,
Yep.
definitely a tragedy.
It was everywhere.
Yeah. But then on the right-hand side there, we're going to roll down a couple other things that were happening in August 1997. 007
Yes.
GoldenEye was released for Nintendo 64. For those of you who remember, we covered GoldenEye very, very early on Nostalgia Mania. Go check that out on our YouTube or our podcast platforms. I believe that was within the first 10 episodes. We covered that one. So
GoldenEye was big back then. Like it was one of those games where it kind of started the whole like you go to a lot of LAN parties, and if someone doesn't know what a LAN party is, it's basically where people take TVs and game systems and they hook them all up together and they play against each other, and which then kind of moved to online instead of having LAN parties. And this is kind of what kicked off that style of game to play online, like online first-person shooters and all that stuff. So it was very, very cool. I have fond memories of this game.
Yeah, it was. It kind of kicked off the first-person shooter games. It was my first really introduction to first-person shooters. I was a Super Nintendo fanatic, as I've said many times in the show, and I never actually owned an N64 until much later. So I went from Super Nintendo to PlayStation, so I didn't own this game when it came out. So I had to go to other people's houses to play it. But I have very fond memories, like you said, of playing it. And like I said, I can't believe both of those happened in August of '97. And then not only that, you've got the birth of Netflix. Was August of 1997. A very different than what you know now, Netflix. It was much different logo, much different concept. Netflix was started off, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was a mail-in kind of thing. You would rent a movie and it would get mailed to you, and then you would have to mail it back when you were complete with it. That's how it started.
You would go on their website and you'd put the movies you wanted in like a queue, and they would send you the top one if it was available. If it wasn't, they'd send you the next one down. So it's very like, big movie came out, and you're like, I hope it's there. And if you're not one of the first to put it in your queue, then you're getting number 2 on the list. Right. So yeah, it was very, very different than what people were used to.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I remember the queue. Now that you said that, that was something that, when Megan and I first started dating, I remember the queue. Her having that queue.
Yeah.
We would rent movies through there quite a bit.
And it wasn't something like, it wasn't something that took off right away. Netflix, it took it a minute to build.
Yeah, and didn't your former employer have Blockbuster have
Yes.
the opportunity to purchase Netflix, and they passed?
They had the opportunity, and the owner, so when I started with Blockbuster, it was owned by a guy named Wayne Huizinga, who also owned the Florida Marlins at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up selling it, and I don't remember who bought it, but yeah, they had a chance to buy it for like pennies, like really, really dirt cheap, and they did not. Which, who knows if they would have bought it, if that would have kept the stores open or would have made a difference at all. I don't think it would have, but
yeah, they would have had to. We had a Blockbuster episode too, and they struggled with keeping up with the trends that were happening. They didn't adapt very well to the market.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what inevitably happened. Their downfall was cause of that.
Right. And when I first started, Wayne was really cool with things, and he actually did keep up with a lot of it until he sold it a couple of years after I got there to this corporation. And the corporation, like the board members, were just not very smart at all with what they were doing.
Yeah. So last but you got more? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Blockbuster did actually try to do a Netflix type deal where you would go online and they would ship movies to you. And then part of their deal was if once you send the movie back to Netflix, like when Netflix did it, you had to wait for the movie to get there, wait for them to process it, wait for them to send you the next one on your list. With Blockbuster, it was actually a genius idea. They shipped you the movie from wherever the fulfillment center was. When you were done with the movie, you brought it back into the store and you exchanged it for a movie rental. And then once we would take them down every day and put them in the mailbox in the morning to ship them back. So you didn't have to wait for movies, which was a genius plan at the time.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know that.
Sir.
Did not know that. That's awesome. So last but not least, also August 1997, one of Brian's favorite bands, the Backstreet Boys, released Backstreet's Back. All right. So,
all right.
All of these happened August of 1997. Pretty crazy how fast time flies, man. I don't feel like it's been that long since the Princess Diana story, but here we are.
Crazy.
Here we are, man. So that's a new segment, the Vintage Report. We're going to do that each and every week. We'll just pull up what was in the news and what was released, stuff like that throughout whatever time period that we're talking about.